you know, since there's not enough that like sticks out about him, you know, I can't put him as my top 3. Anyways, here's a list starting at number 1. Okay. Alright, finally. I haven't done behind the scenes in like a while. So I've been busy with a lot of other types of content. I've been conducting the one-on-one interviews, the FaceTime interviews, and then on top of that, it's just like every day I'm always browsing other people's interviews, other hip-hop content, and I just thought of this idea where I'm like, yo, I want to make a video listing who I think are the top 3 interviewers right now. I'm gonna be considering the last, I don't know, like year or 2. But just to get the record straight, I look up to these guys. I always look at like which areas they excel in, just so like maybe I could add that to myself. And I also am not gonna rank these 3 in order, just because I feel like once you're a good interviewer, the only thing it really boils down to is like what's really different about you. So for example, maybe Zane Lowe from Beats One is an amazing interviewer, but you know, since there's not enough that like sticks out about him, you know, I can't put him as my top 3. Anyways, here's a list starting at number 1, Adam22. Now look, I know there's quite a few people that dislike him or think he's too edgy, but like here's why I like him. Now look, I think he's at the point where he doesn't have to hold anything back really. He's just super honest and blunt about things. Now his honesty could probably come from the fact that, you know, he is much older than the people he's interviewing. Like a lot of the time he's interviewing kids, right? So I don't think he really feels like he has to hold back on anything, and I actually appreciate that. And yes, like a big aspect of why people do like Adam22 is that there is a lot of drama on No Jumper. Sometimes it'll just like, it's really unexpected.
And I don't need yes men on the internet to tell me who the fuck I am, you little bitch.
This is a WWE guy. Put the mic down.
I'm staring at you in the face and telling you that you're missing what I'm saying.
But for example, if the interview is boring, like, I don't know, the one he did with Comethazine.
You got anything left before we end this?
Nah. Do you, nigga? This shit was like 15 minutes. This nigga shortened me on the interview like he don't want to be
That
here
was a half hour.
Should be like an hour 30.
I mean, I could keep going all day. I've done fucking 3-hour interviews, but I just don't feel like we're necessarily like making that much headway here.
Chances are he's probably gonna bring up the fact that the interview is boring, and sure, it'll make it a bit awkward, but I just feel like that honesty is just really needed in his videos. Also, everything just feels really raw and unedited. A big part of that is the fact that he does live stream a lot of his interviews. I think it could be all the interviews, but I do know that a lot of the interviews are live streamed, so it's not like, you know, if something the label wants to cut out, they're gonna cut it out. Like, it's gonna be kept in the interview regardless. Not to say that edited videos are bad or anything, I just feel like this is a new dynamic that he added where all of his interviews are done on the spot, and even if there's something super awkward or really edgy, like, he's gonna keep it in the interview. Another thing I do like about Adam22's interviewing style is that I think he talks just the right amount about himself. No respect to these guys, but I've seen this one channel that interrupts so often where it's like you barely even get to hear the artist. It's like this white guy, and Real 92.3 LA is the channel, and then the interviewers are like Bootleg Kev and this other guy. So yeah, no offense to them, they get great guests, but the thing is they interrupt so often where it's like you don't even get to hear the artist. And on top of that, I don't really care what Bootleg Kev has to say. But the thing about Adam is that, you know, he's always around hip hop. He makes a bunch of other cool videos commenting on hip hop. So he's kind of built that reputation where I actually care about what he has to say. He has so much insider experience that here and there during an interview, he'll talk about a story with an artist or something. And look, when it comes to hip hop interviews, 70% of the reason people come to watch is because of the artist. But the cool thing about Adam is that he makes you come back to the videos thinking, yo, what question is Adam gonna ask the artist? How is Adam gonna respond to the artist? What's the artist's relationship with Adam? We feel like we're building a connection with Adam at the same time. And then another great thing about the No Jumper interviews is I feel like their interviews are just so long. You can actually take something out of it and then apply it to your own life. Luckily, I think that Adam has built a really successful brand where these artists actually want to stay on his podcast for really long. And you know, I've been trying to do this. It is a bit tougher, well, much tougher, because I am a smaller channel. So as you work your way up, you gain a bit more respect. But at this level, you know, if I can get a long interview, it's like the best day ever for me. But yeah, I think I've tried to do this with the Kill Hofra interview. That one was pretty long. The Baby No Money interview, that was pretty long. And yeah, the cool thing is I got messages from people, like meaningful messages saying, yo man, that specific part of the interview just like brightened my day. I really got to learn a lot on his business standpoint. Like, you know, those interviews, I think you can actually take stuff out of, and that's special to me. All right, now let's move on to the next interviewer, and that is Nardwuar, or Nardwuar the Human Serviette. I don't know. I just stick with Nardwuar. And yo, truth be told, like, Nardwuar is just the GOAT. I'll get a bit more into detail, but I just think that, yo, Nardwuar really specializes in what he does. Like, he specializes in interviews. Adam22 is an interviewer, but you know, at the same time, he has to run his whole company of No Jumper. And then on top of that, he's just naturally great at talking, so it all works out for him. Nardwuar, on the other hand, he specializes in one video series. He never has to think about, yo man, or I doubt he says yo man, but like, he never has to think about what different types of content he has to make for the future. He knows he does one style of interviewing and he's just gonna keep pumping out that content. You know, I might be a little bit biased because he is from Vancouver, and I just know that there's already not much of a music scene here, but just to create a music media scene, I just feel like Nardwuar has kicked down the doors in a sense, and you know, made and inspired people like me to even want to try doing stuff like this. Oh, and fun fact, one of Nardwuar's videographer actually films a lot of Kids Takeover's interviews as well. But I think the main reason of what makes Nardwuar one of the greatest interviewers is because, yo, he's just so different from everybody else. There is absolutely nobody like Nardwuar, and he basically created his own genre of interviewing. There's nobody researching all these facts, there's nobody buying all these vinyls, getting all these gifts, talking in that wacky accent, wearing the crazy costumes. Now, obviously my videographer can't reveal too much about Nardwuar because he is kind of like mysterious, but trust me, from like what I've heard, you know, Nardwuar is super passionate about what he does. Like, if you saw that Lil Uzi interview, you know, normally in this situation like that, if the person you're interviewing just runs off, it's like, damn man, this guy just doesn't want to do my interview, man. I'll just clean up the stuff and let's just get out of here. But yo, Nardwuar on the other hand, dude, this guy chased him all the way to the car, you know, knocked on the windows just to get that doo-doo in front of all the security guards, in front of everyone. He does not care who's around him. He's gonna be himself and he's gonna be his own character. Also, it's like, yo, how much research does this guy do? You know, I kind of get it if like an artist is coming to Vancouver and Nardwuar knows that in advance, you know, he can do all the research. But yo, imagine Nardwuar at like Rolling Loud or something. It is not easy to do all that research on like 10 different artists, have everything with you that same day, you know, buy all those gifts, carry those vinyls, organize that. It literally takes hours and hours to get that type of stuff done. And then lastly, I do think that one of the coolest part of his interviews is the do at the end. If you go on your YouTube feed and Nardwuar posts a new video, right? Let's say it's like with Black Youngsta. Even if you don't like Black Youngsta, you're gonna click the video and maybe just like skip to the end just because you want to see how someone reacts to Nardwuar's do. You want to see what they're gonna say after. And I really commend Nardwuar on that. I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and man, that was just like the smartest part of his interviews. Alright, so the next top interviewer on my list is Joe Budden. Again, kind of like Adam22, I know a lot of people dislike Joe Budden, especially for the fact that, you know, he has had his moments where, you know, he's hated on the young people like Lil Yachty and whatnot. And look, this is coming from the person who made Kids Take Over. It's like, I really appreciate what Joe Budden does. One of the main reasons is that, yo, Joe Budden actually used to be a rapper. He actually knows what goes on behind the industry. He knows what it feels like to be an artist. And yeah, I know he wasn't the most successful artist, but, you know, he was signed to a label and he definitely did have a hit. I just think that he could really specifically relate to an artist. I don't know if a lot of you guys watch sports or basketball, but whenever there are NBA analysts like Stephen A. Smith or Max Kellerman who talk about the league, it's cool and all, you know, I'm still gonna watch that. But when you get an actual retired NBA player to come on TV like, I don't know, Tracy McGrady, it is way more satisfying and like credible to watch because those players have been there and done that, just like Joe Budden. But yeah, another thing that really intrigues me about Joe Budden's interviews is the fact that he is just so honest and blunt. And yeah, everyone's gonna say that comes off as super rude, but there's really not that many people doing that other than Joe Budden and Charlamagne the God. And I think the reason for that is he doesn't really see any artist above him. He's been there and he's done that. I'm sure tomorrow Joe Budden could have like J. Cole on his podcast series and he's not gonna treat him any differently than how he treated someone like Russ. Like, I remember the time Joe Budden had Chance the Rapper on his podcast. The big question that everybody was asking about Chance the Rapper is he really an industry plant?
Don't let me off the hook, please.
You're not independent. You weren't independent. I understand what you were saying. But you're not independent. You are misleading and misguiding the fucking kids.
Please.
And when I watched the interview, Joe went in on him. He started asking all the questions about being an industry plant. Is he really signed? How is he getting all the support? And not once did he back down from something Chance the Rapper said. And look, I'm gonna be honest, I think that's one of the reasons that not many people watch Everyday Struggle anymore. Not just the fact that Joe Budden's not on it, but they just don't have someone that has the voice to really, you know, give it to these artists and get the hard truth out of them. And when Joe was on it, that's what he was doing with Lil Yachty. He was getting straight into him and he was just asking all these questions that Akademiks or Nadeska is afraid to ask. So there you go, those are my top 3. But look, big disclaimer, I'm in no way a perfect interviewer. I'm still 19 and I'm still learning. Kind of like Adam, I am handling the entire business side of things as well. I'm still trying to find my specific interviewing style, and regardless of interviewing, like, it's just great, man. I'm getting messages from you guys saying that I really inspired you to start your own small business or your own hobby, and I think that was just the goal all along, but hopefully now I could just keep doing it at a bigger scale. But yo, I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Who are your top 3 interviewers in hip-hop? Comment your guys' opinions below. I'm gonna try to read through all of them and just reply to you guys. But man, I'm just mostly excited to make more videos like these. I see your comments, I see your DMs. I know you guys really enjoy hearing the insider info, so until next time, I'm Arshan and you guys are watching Behind the Scenes. Yo, thanks for watching that video. If you do want to see who my honorable mentions were, be sure to check the description. You might even agree with some of the names. Otherwise, if you did like the video, be sure to like physically press the like button and comment on it. Otherwise, it is time for the top comment. So on the last video, Brian Hernandez said, "The interviewer 19 looks old AF." Bro, I get that a lot. I think it's like the facial features, but otherwise people say it's the way I talk or the way I carry myself. So I don't know, I kind of take that as a compliment, right? But be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, watch the last interview we did with Shoreline Mafia. It went crazy on YouTube.